Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very special fireside chat. It's going to be a wonderful evening, which we'll get into shortly. But before we do all of that, my name is Tristan, and like I said, it's a very, very warm welcome. Tonight, we are going to be delving into Fagasa's Safari Guide of the Year. It promises to be a wonderful evening. We will be getting smoked out to start with, which is going to be fun. Hopefully the wind will change a little bit and the smoke will go. So if you see me crying, it's not because I'm emotional about the Safari Guide of the Year, but because we have a bit of smoke in our eyes too. But essentially what we're going to be discussing is the 5 contestants that handpicked from various lodges around the country that competed in a rigorous week of challenges that was judged by some of the industry's top professionals. It is an amazing event that took place in Marakele National Park with Marataba. And there's a whole lot that goes into this, and so tonight we're going to be chatting to some of the judges and the contestants, and we'll be finding out a little bit more about the Safari Guide of the Year. And so without further ado, an introduction to what the Safari Guide of the Year is all about.
I had images or ideas or dreams in my head of how it would unfold, and it's much better than I was ever hoping for.
I think a week like this really emphasizes the importance of guides in any hospitality or tourism scenario, and we're just so privileged as Fagasa to showcase that. Because what Fagasa has done is set the standard in the industry, and now it's evident when you get to spend time with the finalists and the judges. And that really is important in this whole life cycle of a guide, is to really showcase their professionalism and give them the credit that they deserve.
The Safari Guide of the Year, it's actually one of the really quite nice thing that Fagasa ever thought of actually introducing to the industry, because it's actually a great recognition for the guides, and guides, they feel like, you know, not only that they're just guides to actually take guests on a game drive and so on, but, you know, the organization, it's really trying to motivate and really put them to the next level.
Primarily, everything has always been and will always be that the contestants are spoiled, looked after, and told thank you, you know, for what you do and for being an ambassador to our country and for being a custodian of our wildlife.
I have been absolutely blown away by the level of professionalism, by the enthusiasm from all the contestants. I think the industry is in unbelievably good hands. I am so impressed with what Fagasa is doing and just lifting the levels of professionalism, the levels of excellence. And I think what I've seen over the last sort of day and a half, 2 days, has been absolutely amazing. So I think I've gained a new and a clearer understanding of the industry, and I'm seriously impressed by the sort of skills and the knowledge of the contestants and also the judges and the other people that I've met this week.
Our involvement and the reason why we got involved and why we felt there was synergy between our brand and Fagasa was COVID sort of very hard hitting. The desire to support local became very relevant, and with us coming out of COVID, a lot of people now have the opportunity of getting back into the bush, a lot of communities traveling, and a lot of the guys who are Fagasa members commute back and forth. They're 3-4 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and often home is not close to the lodge, so they're on the roads a lot, and that was really where the synergy was.
They've been so well looked after and spoilt, and you know, even to this level where they get the exposure they need, and just an indication to the world of the hard work they do. They deserve all of the prizes and the recognition and the patting on the back, so that's all we want, and as long as they come first, I can't wait for it to get even bigger, but it's better than I ever thought it was going to be.
What an incredible event it is, and it's such an amazing thing to see guides being celebrated and rewarded for the hard work that they put in. Now, I'm joined this evening by 2 very special people. Good evening, guys.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you guys doing? So, on my immediate left, we have Michelle Duplessis. She is the managing director of Fagasa and is the big boss lady. So, always a pleasure to have her with us here at Djuma. And then to her left is Godfrey Matabula. He is the director of Fagasa and also, I believe, operations manager at Tswalu. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you guys for coming to join us.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, absolute pleasure. We'd love to hear from you guys, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers at home the same, as to kind of your involvement in Safari Guide of the Year and FAGASA as an organisation, and why these kind of events are so important to the guiding industry.
So FAGASA has been the power behind the event. It wasn't our event to start off with, but we merged with the founder, Mike Karantonis, and the purpose of that is to really showcase guides and give them the recognition that they deserve. So we organise the event, we run the entrance and all of that, and then we run the entire week's operations when it happens. It's an absolute privilege for us to be able to do that for guides, because it is about our guides.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's the thing, is the guiding industry is, it's a job where there's a lot is given, and it's always, I think, nice when guides feel like something's being given back to them, and it's a celebration of their work that they've put in, for sure. Did you guys have a good competition this year? Was it quite tight and kind of good contestants?
It's hard to describe. We had the most spectacular week. Yeah. And what really pulls it together is the camaraderie. And that's what it's about, really, is having this group of people together. And I can't imagine it would be better next year, but we will try and make it better. But it was the most unbelievable week. An incredible amount of fun and experience and learning took place. And as I said, it was really the group of people that we had. So the contestants were from all spheres of, the different lodges across the country, different areas. So that was exciting,
sure,
because none of them were really familiar with that particular area. Yeah, so it really tested their.
I was about to say, because it's a challenging area. Marataba is a very specific type of habitat, and it's not the easiest place if you've never been there to know what's going on. So.
Absolutely. It's first of all, to start with, it's quite rocky. Yeah. So to find tracks and really able to determine what animal that actually walked there, because it only give you like pretty much 80% or 70% of the actually clue of what could have actually walked there. So the guys did really, really good, and it was quite fun, to be very honest. We actually really all had lots of fun. It was really, really good. For me to actually experience what they could actually pull out, I was really blown back about their experience and the knowledge that they could actually really pull out all the details. The assessors, they actually ask so many difficult questions, and the guys actually got it right. Like, they will actually just not ask what type of a track was there. They'll actually ask, what will that animal have actually behave here? Yeah. So you had to interpret the whole behavior of the animal, despite the fact of actually just identifying the tracks. So it was actually really, really good. It was really lots of fun.
Now, Joy from Hong Kong, she would like to know, how does a guide get nominated and put forward and get into, the finalists as a Safari Guide of the Year?
So we rely on the industry. Okay. We put it out there already. Now you can apply. So we really would like nominations from any lodge that feels that their guide has what it takes to compete. Sure. There are a set of criteria. They need a level of experience and FAGASA qualifications, naturally. So we rely on the industry to put forward those names, and then once that happens, we shortlist. It's a telephonic interview. There's a shortlist, and then we pick the final 5 that are going to take part in that week.
That's amazing. And do you get, how many people are we looking at getting nominated in terms of one competition? Is it an extraordinary number that it gets whittled down to 5, or is it like,
It's not a huge amount,
okay.
But it's definitely 3 or 4 times the amount of what we left with at the end. Yeah. So it's quite tough in some instances. And obviously, everyone has the qualification. So at the end of the day,
day, it's how you conduct yourself on that very first interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
and it's really nice because, of course, that's where it sort of enforces knowledge or learning from the guides, because they know that if they want to actually enter the competition, they really need to actually know their stuff. Because if you're not really good with your tracks, that's a time that you actually really go and study or actually learn more of your tracks and so forth. So you can actually have all the good knowledge on all the all around questions that are really asked. So
I think that's the cool thing, is that it's not only is it a kind of competition where there's recognition, but it's also a growth experience for guys. Right, so we're going to carry on discussing. We'll delve much deeper into all of this. We're going to meet some of the contestants and even some of the judges this evening, and hopefully we'll find out a lot more and a lot of your answers, or we'll answer a lot of your questions that you may have. Welcome back, everybody, to our fireside chat. It's such a beautiful evening in the perfect conditions to be sitting out here and having a chat with all of you guys. It's very exciting to have everybody here. Now, of course, when it comes to a competition, you need to have excellent judges if you are to judge the contestants effectively and to score them correctly. And I think you guys have assembled quite the panel this year. A lot of them are names that I know very well because, well, I've been trained by them and been around them. So it was quite an elite grouping of people. We had James Stain, obviously, who was here. John Pinto, which is one of the guys that everybody kind of knows in the industry. There was yourself, Michelle, who were on that panel. Mike Carantonis, Lucas Matunzi, Alan Yurt, and Anthony Collett. That's right. There we go. So 7 of them in total, which scored the contestants. I'd imagine the judging must be quite interesting. It must be. Is there a lot of argument that goes on between them? Does it get quite heated, or is it all pretty civil?
It's different every year, but what does happen is that we don't really discuss until the last day.
Okay.
So everybody goes off and you each have your role and you each judge your category, and you do it at your pace.
Yeah.
So once you've been on your game drive with TJ, for example, then you go off and score. So we get all the criteria up ahead, and so we know what we're looking for, and we do it. And then on the last day, we put all the scores into the system, and the result is revealed.
Okay.
But it's interesting. You say, do we argue and talk about the different? Not really, but we can all, because of the depth of experience that our guides that the judges have got. It's kind of very clear how the thinking goes.
I was about to say, I mean, those individuals that we're talking about are really some of the best guides that we have in South Africa, and not just guides, trackers in the form of Lucas. And so I would imagine these guys know very well and very quickly what they're looking for and whether or not somebody has not quite hit the mark, or if they've exceeded expectations, and that's why you would have put them together.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. So you're talking about like really one of the highest, qualified, experienced, judges. So they know pretty much exactly, even if it's like a half a track, of an animal, they know exactly what will actually walk there. So you can't really default them on the information that they normally give it to you. Really highly qualified.
And tell me, with the scoring, how is it based? Is it a point system that you use? So is it like the tracking assessment where you get like 3, 4, if it's a very difficult track, it's 3 ticks. If you get it wrong, it's just 1 cross. Whereas if it's an easy track, it's 3. Is it worked out like that, or is it just there's a kind of score out of 10, or how is it that it's actually scored?
So in terms of track and sound, that's fairly straightforward. That's on the Cyber Tracker basis. So that's scored like that. We then take the guide's safari and the walk, and that is weighted more.
Okay.
It's out of 100. Everything's out of 100, and we scale it down to the percentage. So the walk accounts for 25%, the safari 25%, and then we make up the rest of the categories out of 10, and then we add them up like that.
Okay, so the walk and the drive really are
because that is where guides need to be super skilled in terms of how they're dealing with their guests.
Absolutely.
And they spend most of their time on those activities.
And those walks and drives, are they time limited, or is it a thing where it's like it just goes until it feels kind of that's it, or do you say this is a 3-hour game drive, or an hour walk, or a 2-hour walk, or a 5-hour walk? Is it time scaled like that or not?
Not really. So what they do is we draw out of a hat on the first night. They draw a number, and then there's a schedule.
Okay.
And so they will know what their schedule is during the week. So they'll know when their safari is or when the walk is, and we try and make it either a morning or an evening. And then it's up to them. Because remember, at the end of the day, it's how do you interpret your guests?
Exactly.
And how are you going to make it the best experience for your guests? So if you have the most phenomenal walk in an hour or 2, then we leave it up to the guides. So there's no limit on that.
All right, awesome. Well, we've been talking about the judges. I think it's a good time to introduce them all to you. So take a look at each and every single one of them and their backgrounds.
My favorite part of this competition so far has probably been the ability to spend time with really, really iconic figures like Jean Pinto and Alan Hewitt and sort of legendary guys in the field.
Doing our trick and sign yesterday, the way they explained about the leopard, how it stops and look at us, just telling from the tricks. Oh, that's another level of experience.
I looked at the dinner table, and there I'm trying to calculate how many dangerous game encounters are at that table. If it's 5,000, it might be an accurate number.
Most of these exercises are time and accuracy dependent. So one particular exercise has a time component and an accuracy component. What we then look at is mostly accuracy based on a person's ability to use the firearm well. We call that weapon handling. And if a person's weapon handling skills are of a good level, then generally they don't struggle with accuracy. Break the line here, then that shot is out.
Yeah, the criteria is really largely based on the perceptible enjoyment of the people that are on the vehicle at the time. I mean, it's very difficult. They've got one game drive in an area that for most of the candidates they've never been in before. They don't know how far it is to the next sort of open clearing like this. But I think ultimately what I would be looking for is how to maximize the sense of the unknown.
When you're back on the ground and your own feet are on the ground, you can see tracks, you can see signs. You can feel, you can smell, you can touch. And also you can encounter things in the bush in a different way. And it's kind of the leveler. It's the experience that really, really is important for a guide to have, to be able to take people safely into the environment on a walk.
For these guys, there's not too much tracks. You walk a little bit, you stop. You can start checking, keep your hands, your neck up, okay, your eyes. Listen for the birds. Sometimes the birds make a lot of noise to telling you, watch out, you have a dangerous animal that side.
The hospitality starts from the minute your guest arrives to the last minute that they leave. And at all times, guides need to be professional and hospitable.
And storytelling isn't done enough anymore. It's heritage that's handed down from generation after generation, and history is written in your mind, basically.
You guys were the first ever to do a photographic element.
I'm sure you'll agree that's a very esteemed panel of judges, and like I say, I mean, some of the best that we have in this industry, and I know some of them so well, and they really are amazing people, and what they've been able to give back to the industry is amazing, and to do this is pretty special. And James, you've just joined us. So James Steyn is one of the judges that was on this year's competition, and I mean, yeah, one of the industry leaders, one of the people that all our guides know very, very well. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, of course, with the judging and now that you've joined us, I think a lot of people will probably be quite interested in the criteria as to how do the entry criteria, in terms of, we've spoken about a lodge nominates you, but in terms of, do people have to go out and have certain exact qualifications? Is there a minimum qualification that you have to have? And what kind of things are the judges wanting people to have done prior to getting into the Guide of the Year as the last five?
Yeah, sure. I think you best answer that.
Okay. So the main criteria for being nominated is the fact that you need to be a field guide, a minimum of a field guide.
Okay.
And then you also need a full trails guide qualification because of the walking category, and also a minimum of 5 years experience.
Okay.
So those are the main criteria.
And I'd imagine ARH and all of that needs to be up to date.
Yes, absolutely. And all the legal requirements, so all the FOGASA requirements, the legal requirements need to be in place.
So for those of you that don't know what the legal requirements are, it's basically like having a public driver's permit and an advanced rifle handling, your DEET registration, which is basically with the Department of Environmental Affairs and Tourism. So that all needs to be in place as well, which I suppose is part of the course. And you know, James, when you guys are judging this competition, is it broken down into certain people judging certain sections, or you guys just, everybody judges everything together? Because I would imagine that certain people have certain skill sets, and so, I mean, for example, you with walking or Lucas with the tracks, I mean, do they take the lead on that and then they score it, or do you all score it together as a group of judges?
Yeah, no, we basically each have our own department that we do, or our own section of it. And some of it we double up on.
Okay.
So on the tracking we double up, on the walking we double up, for instance, and then on the driving as well. So I think the driving have 2 or 3 judges, the walking have 2 or 3 judges, the track and sign have 2 or 3 judges. So we do help out, even though one individual take particular lead on a specific thing. So we do that, yeah.
Okay. So TaylorMade's asking if any of you were nervous to judge the participants. I'd imagine not, but because I think it's much more nerve-wracking being on the other side of the judging panel. But did you guys get nervous? Sorry.
Not really nervous, but you know, when it comes to the final, figuring out who's going to win, it really you kind of wonder, you know, did you score correctly?
Yeah.
But not nervous, no, not me.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's interesting, but there's such a nice vibe that's created right from the start, a relaxed atmosphere for both contestants and for judges. And we all have so much fun, and in fact, I think the best part of the competition is actually spending time out of the sections that are judged. Just getting to know the people and spending time with them and catching up and so on and so forth. It's a small industry. Most people know each other. We all get together and it's a great fun time to spend together. So I don't think nervous even comes into the mind of even the contestants, certainly not the judges.
Okay. Now, horse lover would like to know, James, what was your highlight of this year's competition? What was the kind of standout moment for you during this year?
Yeah, that's it. It's always a tricky it's always a difficult question. At the end of the day, beauty lies in the eye of the beholder, we know that. But for me, it's always the social event and interaction between the contestants and the judges, more so than any one particular thing. I think it's the time spent between activities that I certainly enjoy, not just this year, but most years. It's really nice to get to dig a little bit deeper and get to know people behind the people that they are.
Yeah, for sure, I should imagine. And I think that's the thing about, guides and the guiding industry. It almost becomes a bit like a fraternity, and everybody starts to get to know each other, and from that you tend to grow. You rely on each other and you learn from each other, which is a pretty special thing. Right, we are not done. We are going to definitely be delving deeper into all things, and soon we'll be getting into the contestants, which is very, very exciting. But we're going to take a short little break before we do that.
The WildEarth channel now runs for 24 hours a day and is filled with exciting wildlife experiences for the whole family. In addition to our twice daily live safaris from Africa, we launched Sea Forest. Free divers explore the great African kelp forest under the water in Cape Town, while naturalists on the surface explain what we are seeing in real time. Our Escape to Nature series features exceptional wildlife footage throughout the day, and here you can immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of nature. And finally, we are launching a brand new penguin experience later this month, where you can follow the lives of a group of African penguins daily and in real time. If you want to join in on these experiences, then head over to wildearth.tv/channel to see where you can watch. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
We got there. He had probably moved a couple of 100 meters down the river, and it was about 10 meters from this causeway. So I radioed the lodge quickly and just asked them to bring a Land Cruiser around and some tow straps. So we thought we were going to try be heroes and save this giraffe. And now a big bull, probably over a ton. He's a big unit. Got the tow strap one side of the giraffe and managed to get it around him with a boat, and the other edge of the tow strap obviously back onto the bank. So we made this U around him because he was lying quite close to the bank. And we put that Land Cruiser in low range, and we just gave it hell and pulled that giraffe, and the tow strap slipped up, and we thought, oh no, it's going to slip off the top of it, and it caught on his ossicones top. And that last 10 meters pulled him out onto the bank, and he battled. He was obviously quite weak and all that.
We've seen these ellies really chase wild dogs before. Let's get into spot. There we go, there it comes. Look at that, isn't that amazing?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Changed out some members of the set, and we have added two of our contestants. TJ, Civilized, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you guys here. Nice to have you in a different part of the world.
Thank you very much.
I hope that you guys have had a warm welcome and that you'll enjoy this evening's chat. We're going to delve into everything a little bit deeper. I don't know if both of you just quickly want to give us a little background to where you come from, where you're at the moment, and a bit of your experience as you kind of have gone. I don't know if you want to start first or...
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. Born and raised in a village called Belfordton, which is not far from this reserve. And growing up and being in the surrounding areas, that actually motivated me to wanted to become a guide. So being started in Kruger as a trekker and work my way out to become a guide, where I've been an active guide for the last 12 years, which is 10 years with Tula, up to current. I'm still with Tula, which is, I'm loving it.
You're loving it?
Yes.
Tipavati is a special place.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite a special place.
And yourself, TJ?
So my name is Togara Joseph Charingira, born and bred in Kariba, Zimbabwe. Did my Zimbabwean guiding in 2010 as an apprentice. So I have privileged to be in different areas like Manapu's Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, and came to South Africa 2012, joined anti-poaching, worked in anti-poaching in South Africa, and started to guide in South Africa in 2013. So I guided Vuyani Safari Lodge. I did a lot of guide in Kruger National Park, but currently in Royal Madikwe, the other side of the country, northwest.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, you've met these two gentlemen. It's time to meet the rest of the contestants that made up this year's finalist.
I'm from Tula Safari Camp, and yeah, I'm here for the Safari Guide of the year 2021.
I'm from Tswalu Game Reserve, and I've been one of the finalists for the Safari Guide of the Year competition.
I'm from Johannesburg, but grew up in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, just outside Belfast. And I'm here in the competition just because it's one of those great experiences that you may or may not get the privilege of taking part in.
My name is Togara Joseph Charingira. I'm guiding at Royal Madikwe Safari Lodge.
My name is Sean Deruja, and I'm from Londolozi Game Reserve. I'm at Maritaba competing in the Safari Guide of the Year competition.
I'm really impressed, and I really put my support to the contestants.
It takes a lot of courage, you know, to put your hand up and say I'm in.
Yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity for us to spend around great quality guides.
The favorite thing about being a guide for me is meeting people and also sharing the knowledge of the nature and the wilderness. I like interacting, because if you're a guide, you get like the whole world.
And for me, the best part about being a guide is being able to live out in Africa's wild places and being able to share that with people.
Guiding is not all about the award that we have had, but in sharing the experience and continue to do what we have passion and love.
A bunch of lovely guys, you know, lots of banter, lots of camaraderie.
But there's really been an amazing vibe amongst the five of us, you know, helping each other out where we can, going through our bird calls when we can. And yeah, it's just like we're there for each other. It almost feels like a little guiding team in a way.
I'll say I have learned a lot from the fellow guides, the judges, and that actually makes me wanted to improve into what I'm doing now and to think out of the box.
I really commend them a lot on not only now being ambassadors for the country for every international or local person, but they're ambassadors to guides within their own field to show that it takes courage and strength to put your front foot forward and expose yourself to the world, really. And I hope it encourages others to do the same.
A lovely bunch of people that were in this year's competition. I know a couple of them, very, very, very talented individuals, including the two gentlemen to my left. Guys, did you enjoy the experience? What was it like being on Safari Guide of the Year?
It's very interesting. It's very good and a bit challenging, but interesting, yeah.
I was going to ask you, I mean, obviously you come from Zimbabwe and the Zimbabwe Guide's license is quite in-depth and very different to the South African one. Did you find this was a challenge, or was it similar, or was there huge amounts of difference from it?
Yeah, honestly, on my point of view, being privileged to do Zimbabwe guiding, although still apprentice in Zim, and managed to do Fagasa, to my point of view, think it's nearly 50-50. Fagasa is doing really well because some of the things that I studied when I was apprentice in Zim and when I did my level 1 Fagasa, I was coming more in depth. So to my point of view, I can't say Zim is the best or Fagasa is the best, but to my point of view, nearly equilibrium, and we are getting all the same. Because even to get through all the qualifications for Fagasa, all the assessments and everything, it's not like easy to get Fagasa now. You need to work hard.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
Fagasa's changed a little bit. And for yourself,
yes.
Yeah, it was quite a very exciting moment for me, and being nominated to be participating on that event. So for me, it was an achievement on its own.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man, definitely. I'll say being nominated by our general manager, that tells me that, you know, he cares about his staff and actually he support his staff. So for me, being nominated by him and managed to go through to the finalist, it was something special for me.
That's awesome. Well done, guys. I mean, it's an amazing achievement, and I think, you know, we were talking earlier, it's always nice to get recognition for the work that you put in. Now, horse lover would like to know what your favorite experience was at Safari Guide of the Year.
Yeah, to myself, I can say, you know, on game drive, it's a thing that we do every day. And going for the competition, personally, I thought game drive was going to be easy. But when they blindfold everyone in the vehicle and say to me, right, TJ, now we are guiding blind guests. It was challenging, but it's a favorite moment that is always coming in my mind. So that kind of moment, and the way that as contestants we came together and as one, like the other contestants, Wayne, that I was sharing a same tent with, we had a lot of fun and a lot of laughing, and also our judge of the trek and sign is Lucas Mathonzi, our master trek in South Africa. It was my favorite part. Yeah, awesome. I enjoyed it a lot.
And for you, Civilized?
Yeah, I'll say my favorite part on that, it went to trek and sign, which definitely, being a guide, you think that it and being a guide of interpreting and identifying all the species of animals, interpreting animal behavior. But once it comes to tracking, the information that you can get and see what the animal was doing, at what time, and you imagine that, okay, at this moment this animal was doing, just imagine that by looking at the tracks.
And it's an incredible art form.
Yeah, obviously we went for example, which definitely we find this young male leopard that we identify later, and by Alan explaining what the leopard was doing during that moment, as we're identifying all the tracks or doing all the track and sign. At that moment, that leopard was there. We heard impala alarming at that moment, but to find the tracks, and then Alan explained that this leopard was standing here, and then it was looking at us at that moment with the time that we were there. I mean,
amazing.
Yeah, it was quite amazing.
That's very, very cool.
It was quite amazing, yeah.
So, Dai, you're asking whether or not the judges set up any sort of situations for you. I mean, you touched on it now, I think, with the blindfolding on drives and walks. Did they set up anything else that was kind of challenging on those drives and walks? So did they do anything where, you know, just caught you off guard and you thought, well, this is something different, I didn't realize I would be doing this? Or was it all pretty, besides the blindfold, was it all pretty kind of what you expected?
Yeah, on my side, I can say blindfold was challenging, honestly speaking. And part of storytelling, we normally do it with our guests, but the fact that they were judges, guests, and other contestants, and you know now we have to tell a story that is going to either let people laugh or let people leave them with memory. So those kind of things, when we've got our guest memory, we make them laugh and we get them memory. But having contestants and judges, yeah, it was a big challenge on my side. Storytelling, that part was quite challenging as well.
For you, Civilized? Did you also get the blindfold test?
I'll say unfortunately or fortunately I didn't get that blindfold test, but being with judges and pro that they've been in the industry for so long and understanding how you have to actually conduct your guided walk or your game drive. For me, it was one of the most uncomfortable situation where I ever met, because looking at their faces, knowing that these people are gonna judge me from each and every word that I'm gonna say, it makes me nerve-wracking and honestly not being comfortable. Like if I'm doing my introduction to the guest and telling them what they need to do, not to do on the guided walk or being on the vehicle. So I'll say, that was kind of the most challenging, because you put yourself like, what are they going to say about me at the end of the day? So that was the kind of a nerve-wracking.
Sure. All right, guys. Well, it's lovely to have these two gentlemen here. You can see both of them are super passionate about what they do, and it's amazing to hear their stories from this competition. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back. We'll carry on chatting to TJ and Civilized. Welcome back, everybody. We're still here with TJ and Civilized, and it's so lovely to have them with us. It's really been amazing to have a chat with them over the fire. Now, gentlemen, You're saying that there's some challenges. I think one of the parts of being a guide is sometimes you've got to take your own accountability and look at yourself and kind of judge yourself a little bit. What did you think your strengths and weaknesses were through this competition? Did you think there was things that you fell short on? Were there things that you thought, I really did well in that? Or is it difficult to say, or you just you don't really know?
Yeah, I think, on the weakness, because in guiding, we've got personal skills, whereby before starting talking about your knowledge and experience, but your personal as a human being, sense of humor and everything. So it was a thing that I was looking at, and I was not 100% sure on how I am, because you only judge that by seeing others, how they interact with people, your overall personal skills. Then I think bedding slide is something that was a big challenge for me. I was not sure with my bedding slide very well. I was quite comfortable with bushwalk and track and sign, because growing up in Zimbabwe from young boy, we're following up kettles and we're doing all the stuff, and also with anti-poaching. I spend most of my time on foot, trekking poachers, rhino poachers specifically. So I was quite comfortable with track and sign, but bedding slide and professionalism and hospitality, because there's a lot of things on that area that as guides we need to look at. So professionalism and hospitality and bedding and slide, both challenges. But the bushwalk, track and sign,
strengths.
Yeah, that's my strength. And also shooting, we do a lot of shooting in Madikwe, because our bushwalk there have a lot of thick bushes, so there's a lot of shooting. So that was my quite happy areas with, and difficulties as well.
And yourself, Sabi?
Yeah, also the game drive was one of actually that let me down.
Yeah.
And by looking at the judges, honestly and definitely, it gave me a nerve, and definitely also that was kind of like my weakness, that I felt that moment. But after that, it's something that I beat myself up. I've been doing this for so many years, but how? But honestly, it's one of those moments that immediately you lose your footing, and then everything
feels like it's falling.
It's falling off. Yeah. So I'll say my strength on the guided walk, I'm quite comfortable.
Okay.
That when I'm in the guided walk and the people around me feel much more comfortable and feel safe, because I'm quite very relaxed.
Yeah.
I'm not a person that is gonna. I'm quite very alert, but I feel quite relaxed about the surrounding around me, and putting more attention into any details that is in my surroundings. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, we've spoken about what the guys thought were their strengths and weaknesses. Of course, all of these things were set up in challenges, so let's take a look at all the challenges that they faced during their time at Safari Guide of the Year.
Track and sign. I'm sure I'm good at that. I spend most of my time on the ground since I was a young boy.
Small tracks, they can learn for me. I can show you this one is fresh, that one is not fresh, that one's old one.
He recognized that it was muddy and soft soil, that's why it's played it smooth like that.
Tracks, I believe I did quite well, and the walk.
I call it the multiply toilet paper. It was quite very soft.
The thing that I enjoy the most in the bush is the walking. So they reckon with giraffe even, the little ants will come out and go into the giraffe's nasal cavity, and it gets really annoying, and with the elephants too.
It's important to understand that it is a last resort, so we certainly don't try and encourage that people put their faith and their trust in a rifle.
One of the challenges I'm the most nervous about would probably be shooting. I think on the day there's always quite a bit of pressure and intimidation.
You can have a good day where you blast everything as you need to, in terms of the targets, and then you can have a shocker where you just miss a single shot here or there, and that's basically the end of your day.
You should have the ability to control most potentially dangerous situations without even thinking about using the firearm.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time shooting ranges and stuff, so that is actually one of my more relaxed challenges out of all of them.
Of all the challenges, for me, the one that I'm probably the most comfortable with is the game drive. I think that's what I do most days, so that would probably be what I feel like I'd do the best at.
The importance of the drive and observing how the guides deliver the vehicle-bound safari experience is because it does tend to become the space within which the guests spend most of their time.
It's definitely birding is the thing that I feel most comfortable with in terms of categories that we have here.
Birding is one of the fastest growing activities or outdoor activities that there is in the world. So for a guide to be taking people out into the environment and to have an understanding of birding, bird calls and bird ID is very important. It creates the whole package of a field guide.
I say the birding and the call definitely for me. It was quite a big challenge.
We've got lots of birds, especially the small ones, larks and firefinch.
So the 5 criteria. Number 1, understanding the needs of a photographer on a vehicle, like space to store gear, ability to move from side to side on a vehicle.
With this power shot, it's quite a very powerful tool to have.
I mean, I got to use Roger's 400mm f2.8 lens for a couple of hours.
Between 62, 63, 64, 68%. That's how close you guys were. That tiny little bit of effort.
The extra mile that I did on the first night to ask the photographers if they need beanbag.
We look at their hospitality skills from hosting to setups to just general professionalism of taking care of their equipment. It's their attire and also their manners and just general, attention to detail with guests and finding out what guests need and then accommodating that.
My storytelling, it was great. Everybody, I believe, when they laugh, they were enjoying it.
Some of them, they are so funny, and some of them, they are more educational. So you learn and you actually have fun at the same time.
Probably one of the challenges that you worry about and you stress about until the moment comes. And once it's over, it wasn't as bad as it actually seems to be.
Storytelling is essential. Never mind important to the guiding industry because it's such a great platform for other guides to learn from.
Well, lots of interesting challenges, I'm sure, for everybody. Welcome back to all of you. It's nice to have everybody on around the fire. It feels a lot better, not as lonely around here. So it's good to have all of you here. I think just before we kind of wrap up for this evening, we had a few questions, and one was from Aldo, and I think it's quite a pertinent one given what the industry has been through, particularly from a COVID point of view. Has the last year and kind of the way COVID rolled out, did it affect the way, I think, A, that the contestants prepared for it, and B, the actual setting up of the whole competition and running it? I know it interfered a little bit in some ways, but I'd imagine it was quite a challenge for both sides to kind of execute this whole thing. I'm not sure which one of you wants to take this, but you're welcome to.
I'll answer that one. We actually didn't have one last year for that very reason. So the competition was postponed for a year, so we missed one of the years out. It wasn't that challenging in terms of organising. I think the challenge came for us when we were in the middle of the competition week, and then we had that hard lockdown.
Yes, yeah.
So that was a bit of a challenge, but we're still very excited about what's coming up soon. So,
I can imagine, yes.
Yeah,
9th of October, isn't it?
Absolutely.
When you guys will be letting us know who actually won this year. So that's pretty exciting. Now, a couple of the viewers also asked, and we'll have to ask, given that it's quite a male-dominated circle, this, or semicircle, have any female guides ever joined the competition or entered the competition?
Oh, I'll answer it. There's been quite a few. I think every second year about there's been a female guide, and we've had a couple of seconds. I think at least 3 maybe second places by a female guide. So very much so. But it's interesting when we start advertising, it's not often that they get asked to
actually participate.
To participate. So I think the challenge lies in that. First and foremost, we need more females to show an interest. Or
We
to get
definitely
forward.
do. We would love to have more.
I'm sure. I think the whole industry and as a whole, there's a push to get more female guides out there and actually, putting up their hands to enter into competitions.
Absolutely. I'm actually quite excited. Next year, I'm actually looking to actually push one of my female guides to the competition. So yeah.
Hopefully we'll see more. Guys, it is that time. Thank you very much for all of you for coming out. I know it's a trek for some of you to get out here, particularly all the way from Madikwe. It's been really an absolute pleasure having you all here. I've loved chatting to all of you. I look forward to seeing who the winner will be. Remember, 9th of October, everybody. It's very, very exciting. We hope whoever it is enjoys it, and I hope that it's an experience that has helped all of you grow, and obviously our industry as a whole. We're all guides out here, and so it's really wonderful when we get to do these kinds of things. And from our side here in WildEarth, it's always such a pleasure to have you guys here. So thank you very much for coming out. To all of you that watched, thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time.
The Masai Mara